We have a great webinar planned for you today, all about an easy to use ticketing system in M365 and Teams. We have AI elements to share with you as well. So a lot to cover, a lot to get into. But before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items I just want to go over with you. First of all, this will be recorded. So we'll be uploading this recording to our YouTube channel as well as to our website. And if you've registered ahead of time, we'll go ahead and send you the recording as well via email. So you just watch for that. Also, if you do have questions today, go ahead and use that question box on the right side of your screen. We're here and happy to answer any questions. We have Scott with us today to field those questions for you. And then if there's anything else, we're going to be really covering a high level overview. So if you have questions, if you want to really dive into things more moving forward, we would really encourage you to schedule a one-on-one demo to really jump into it after the fact. But we'll try to keep it high level and cover most of the features for you today to give you a little bit of a taste. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Ryan Stefani. He is our solutions architect, and he'll be demoing our solution for you today. We're Crow Canyon Software. We've been around for 25 years. We're GSA certified. We're a Microsoft preferred business application. We're a California certified small business. But before I hand things off to Ryan, I wanted to just kind of sync up with all of you today and get a sense of what you most want to see. We have a little bit of poll to kick things, a poll to kick things off. The question is, what features do you most want to see today? So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. If you could just vote on what you most want to see. We have customization, SLA and SLO management, reporting and analytics, self-service portal of Teams, knowledge base. If there's something else, you can also pop it into the question box there. We just want to make sure that we're going to be covering what you most want to see. So pop in your votes there. It looks like we've got a lot of answers coming in. We've got customization, looks like it's pretty high there. Reporting and analytics and self-service portal and Teams are pretty high in what people want to see here. So Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and kick things over to you with that in mind.
Okay, sorry, changing my, I was yawning. Okay, share my screen here. Okay, alrighty. There we go. Let's do clean. Yeah. Okay. So I actually see a lot of familiar faces in the familiar names, not faces, in the attendees here. So a lot of this will be for you guys, for those who are existing customers, will be people who are used to the platform. I'll kind of highlight as I go through, since it's about 50-50, you know, what how it used to work versus how it currently works. But I'll also cover how the platform, you know, the new help desk works out of the box for those first seeing it for the first time. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, the poll is kind of how I figured it would play out. So we'll talk a lot about the end user interface, like you're seeing here, the Teams aspect, the self-service portal in Teams. I was going to plan on talking a little bit more about the technician side, but I will have that be served with the configuration aspect of it. And I think that's probably a good place to start. You know, talk about the architecture of the tool, where it sits, how it lives. So for those who are existing customers, bear with me through this part. I'll make it quick. Here's where we're going to start from. So the application itself is a SharePoint application, right? You're in my demo site, you can see, you know, crowcanyon.sharepoint.com. So this will live in your environment, right? This is going to be in your 365 tenancy, your SharePoint tenancy. Now it's not using Power Platform. It's using a tool set called Nitro Studio. Nitro is proprietary to Crow Canyon. This is our tool set. It comes included with our applications, right? So you're going to have access to this as a part of the help desk. What that means is essentially have the keys to the car to go in and make any changes that you would like to the help desk. So I'll cover out of the box. I'll cover the workflow out of the box to start, And then I'll come back and I'll spend a little bit more time in the Nitro Help Desk to talk about, maybe changing the forms, configuring unique workflows, talking a little bit about the reporting aspect of it. But yeah, it does give you full configurability of the help desk once installed. Okay, so let's talk about the out-of-the-box features first a little bit. So I think first and foremost, anytime we've delivered or deployed a help desk to a customer, there's always the question of, hey, can I have emails to create tickets? Absolutely, right? It comes from who sent it, subject and the body of the email, and a ticket gets created, right? So we're not losing any of this functionality that you would have in a non-365 based help desk. Now you can just repurpose a distribution email or a shared inbox to parse and manage those tickets, or emails to create tickets, I should say. That being said, the end user aspect is going to be primarily Teams focused now, right? So I think we got a rare intro in with our end users through Teams because they use it so commonly, right? It's something they're familiar with, something they're comfortable with. So having our interface, our self-service portal be as an app add-on through the left-hand nav of Teams, it makes it an easy navigation for them to come in and submit tickets and to view tickets, right? So we give them like a landing page for quick tickets. Now right here, this is all orientated towards IT, right? And basically what this does, it's gonna pop up a form with a pre-selected category, for them to submit under. What did I select here? Remote access? Yeah, remote access. Now this can be, let's say you wanted different iterations of the help desk, right? Let's say you wanted IT, you wanted HR, you wanted marketing, you wanted operations, you wanted work orders, right? All of these can be different forms representing different backends, portals to backends, right? So from an end user's perspective, if you have a multi-help desk setup inside of your environment using Crow Canyon, you can still present them the same app, the same landing page, and then they can have visibility or ticket submission ability through all those different applications from one spot, which is nice. If you want to keep it simple and straightforward, or we're just looking at IT here, no problem. The submit ticket pops up. It's going to read their logged in info, right? In this case, I'm in my demo account. It's pulling my email. But let's say I had more information associated to this, like my number and my department. It'll also pull that information in as well. Ticket details, ticket description, attachments. So they can screenshot, they can copy paste, right? Any information that they want to pass along to you, they can through this form. And the way that they do that is through the form itself. So I lied. I said I'd go to the configurability later, but let's talk about it a little bit right now, because I think there's going to be some questions that pop up around what information we can capture on the form. For instance, some of our larger customers want the end users to be able to select, like, what's the impact, what's the urgency, and that'll set the priority. And some of you are probably like, nah, I don't want my end users to do that, which is totally understandable, right? So using Nitro Studio and the Forms tool, we have the ability to customize or configure the tickets form specific to your use case, right? Now, what's great about this, and I don't want to go too far down the SharePoint rabbit hole, but there's a lot of intricacies in the SharePoint space around permissions and who has access to what form and to what site, and can they see what they're not supposed to. So I actually think one of the real brilliant things we do here is we give you the ability to create multiple forms per SharePoint list. You'll see this in a bit more detail when we get to the back end, the technician form versus the portal form. But this allows us to A, again, configure a unique experience for the end users, and B, keep them permissioned in a site specific to them, right? So they don't have access to the backend, so they can't see things they're not supposed to see. Or if they're like, I don't want them to put impact and urgency on here, I'm gonna take it off. Maybe I wanna create 2 priority columns. And maybe I want this one to be end user priority, your priority. Because maybe their priority is critical. Maybe on your priority, it's like low, right? But it gives them the ability to express what their priority is, right? So you have the complete flexibility over the forms tool. I will say this is as dynamic as it'll get in the 365 space. Our forms tool is intended to be an info path replacement. It just happens to underlie this application. So now when we present that same form to the end user through the portal, if we wanted to publish it, we'll see that impact and urgency is gone, and this is their priority, right? So that's one aspect of customizations. We'll talk about more as we work through the tool set. Okay, so yeah, they have their, ABC problem. They want to submit a ticket, need help, hit save. They're going to get the warm and fuzzies that their ticket's been created successfully, and then they can reroute themselves to this view my ticket tab. Oh, just kidding, I got booted. There we go. Okay. That's what happens when you take too long. And then you can see the status of your different, tickets here, right? Hey, have my team left any notes for me? Do I want to communicate with my team through here, which is something that we can give them the ability to do so as well. Need ABC or XYZ. It's just a way for end users to commit or to communicate with backend staff with this portal page. Now, two more options for ticket submission before I go to the back end. But before I get into the co-pilots, let's talk a little bit about Teams messaging. I think one of the big ones here is, I don't know, end user regressing back to like what they're most comfortable with, right? So I think if your end user is most comfortable with messaging you on Teams, they're going to continue to message you on Teams, right? So what's important here is that we can still take that as an opportunity to create a Teams message from, right? So what we can do is, let me find a message here. Okay, let's say, we want to take a message from, let's do Craig. Like, hey, we're testing this out, can you try it, right? So, they sent me a message saying, hey, can you register this for me, whatever it is. So what I can do is I can take their message, I can click on the ellipses, and I can actually create a ticket on, in this case, James's behalf, right? So if you have end users that are so used to messaging you on Teams, you can do the same, right? Right click on it, form pops up. You actually can create a ticket right through the chat for them. They don't even have to do it on their behalf, but it gives you the ability to convert those Teams messages into tickets as well. So just another way to spread the fingers through the Teams environment and give end users all options for ticket submission. Okay, so the co-pilot. This is going to be a little bit more in-depth conversation. Let's chat about it. This is something that is going to be targeted towards a use case, a document library, a document set. So let's say you have a knowledge base article library, and you want to use your KB articles to try to troubleshoot end user questions, right? So what they can do is they can come in here and they can ask a question to the co-pilot. And what this co-pilot can do is it can go out, and this is using, before I get into too far, this is using Azure OpenAI. And what this is doing is parsing like I said, a targeted data source to find them the right answer, right? So this is coming from a KB article, here's how to clear browser cache. It gives them a link to the target information, as well as, how to submit a ticket, right? So if you want to go down that path of, using AI, using co-pilots to self-serve your end users, you absolutely have that ability to do so through here. Like I said, in this case, I'm using Azure OpenAI, so that would require a subscription. We'll configure it for you inside the help desk. Copilot, Microsoft Copilot's another option. This is just one example. The reason I like the OpenAI model is because it's not as expensive as Copilot, but it does give you the ability to like I said, search a targeted data set. And I'll say that one more time, the targeted data set. And why I think that's important is because we can control what the end user sees. So in this case, We have a list, knowledge-based list that can wrap a library, right? Let's say you have PDFs, Word documents, Excel, I think Excel, yeah. And not only can we parse the information in the document itself, but we can also wrap it with metadata, right? Using this list, we have the ability to create custom columns, like I was showing on the Forms tool, that also wraps that document library, right? So if you want to actually tag it, hashtag it, metadata tag it, you can. You can label it under certain ticket types. So this can be referenced for technicians as well if you want to make it as an internal audience only. And then what it does is it also gives us the ability to put a little bit more stringent permissions around the knowledge-based list in the library, right? So you can submit for review. It goes through a review process before it gets published. It auto sets 6 months out to review the article again. That could be changed. So it gives you a little bit more, like I said, stringent permission structure around sensitive data. I think that's the big question around the AI space right now is like, what can they search? Well, in this case, again, here's that word, using a targeted data source, it gives us the ability to control what the end user can and can't see, and gives you as IT the ability to really put all that information under lock and key. So not only are the forms permissions, the lists are permissions, the libraries are permissions, the form, it gives you that full control. Okay. So that's the ticket submission side, the self-service portal, the team side. I think that's, that was one of the big things that I saw from the poll perspective. I do have a question here. And the question is, can attachments be included when converting a team's message into a ticket? Yes, you can. I have had that question recently. Someone recently asked me that on another demo, and you can absolutely bring over attachments. Good question. So as I transition to the back end, if there's any other questions about the end user interface, the self-service portal, the team side, let me know now, or else I'm going to move more towards the ticket assignment IT side. Give you a few seconds while I load this up here. Okay. Now, ticket assignment, I mean, there's so many help desks out there, and I'm sure most on the call have either used ours or other help desk systems, right? So ticket assignment is really universal across the board. I'm going to touch on a few things just so you guys know that we have the features, meaning you can assign owners to categories of tickets, right? If an email request comes in, I'm the owner. If critical invoice request comes in, I'm the owner. You can also do it at the issue type level as well, or you can make it a little bit more universal. You can have staff members, and they can be round robin through the ticketing system. But if you want to auto assign, you can also take all three to factor in. Issue type, category, and staff list. Just the staff list or the issue type and the category. If you're like, hey, we don't do the whole category thing, it just goes to everyone, use the staff list. But in this first example, it gives you the ability to cycle through all three. It's going to defer to the category first, then the issue type, then the staff list. So it does give you a check and balance in that aspect. But this is also nice, being able to set this up for business times, right? So if you only work certain days, you want to set a calendar list for holidays, for time off. You can, like technicians, time off, things like that. So it will also adhere to this calendar as well to make sure that we're not assigning tickets to technicians who are off, etc. It gives a little flexibility in terms of auto assignment and how they get assigned. But if you're like, hey, I just want to look at the tickets and cherry pick them, I mean, that's fine too. Everyone's going to get a notification when the tickets come in, like, hey, this ticket's was created by Ryan, or I think it was James. I did, right? Yeah, that was me. How to clear your browser cache. You know what? I'm going to grab it. I'll self-assign it, or you know what? I'm going to assign it to Craig or whomever. So all options there, really, from ticket assignment. However you want it to flow, it'll flow. Moving on to poll number 2 here, reports, dashboards, things like that. Am I crazy? That's what we talked about, right? Yeah, reporting and analytics. So from an end user's perspective, from a technician, got end users on the brain. From a technician's perspective and from a manager's perspective, we have these different dashboards and landing pages. So we have a numerical or graphical interface for any content that you want to capture in the system, in the help desk. So in this case, we show you what it could look like or what it comes out of the box. Open tickets, overdue, needs attention. Needs attention is requests that have been responded to by the end user, right? That have some notes updated from them, unassigned, right? So if you want to see, hey, show me all my tickets, due today, in a certain status, in progress, needs attention, right? You can also update by status, right? And just kind of tab through these different views. We call them list views in SharePoint. As a technician, you can. Managers' dashboards are going to be a little bit more report heavy. As you can see, it's staff load by ticket, open and close by week, open by type, ticket by staff. If you want to get into the real nitty gritty, you can. Ticket loads, ticket trends, right? As long as the information lives in the system, you can either have a list view representation or a graphical representation of that information. And I will say these dashboards are as configurable as you want them to be. The reporting aspect is another thing inside of Nitro Studio. And I will say if you have an understanding of how like a SharePoint list works, it's super easy. But if you're coming in totally blind, it's not overly difficult. Here, let me show my open tickets by category and priority, and I'll quickly explain what this report looks like. If I select a view, there we go. So in this case, it's looking at me, right? Maybe let's do a bar chart. It's looking at Ryan, right? Because it's my, and this thing in SharePoint is like whatever's equal to me. So it's going to show data, whoever signed in. So it could be different for me, for Krista, for Scott. And then it's like, hey, what do you want to report on? I want to report on priority and category, right? The types of categories are the tickets, and these are all the columns that we capture in the list, and I want to show them by priority, right? Simple, easy, straightforward. These are all normal priority, right? I have 4, and they're all normal, right? If I had 3 high, 2, 1, 2 low, they'd be deprecated and broken up that way. But like I said in the intro to reporting, it really just depends on the information that you want to capture in the ticketing system. Can all be represented through these dashboards and reports. Now, as the ticket gets assigned, I went through the workflow a little bit. Look, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, from a communication perspective, the information comes in from whoever the ticket was created by, through the form or through email. The staff tab is going to show you who's assigned to the ticket, the due date, things like that. The resolution is what's going to go to the end user when you close the ticket out. The work log is going to show all notes related to the ticket. These can be internal only. And then the KBs, like I said, if you have some internal facing KB articles, these will show for your technicians as well, right? But real quick right here, because I did see some people hit the SLA option, so due dates. Oh, we're behind. Let's update this guy. So due dates. So let's open the report as well. SLA. Okay. So we built in an SLA utility into the tool set to define service level agreements as a bulk default policy, right? Like you're seeing here. Any ticket that comes in, if it's a high priority, we deem it a high priority, we want to respond in 15 minutes, 6 hours, or 4 hours, depending on the priority. And I want it resolved regardless in 24, 168, or 72 hours, right? This is across the board, any ticket that comes in. Now, if you did want to specify it and say, hey, if the requester, let's use Scott since he's on the call. It's alphabetical, Ryan. if the requester is Scott, right? Requested CEO, regardless of priority, I want to respond in 15 minutes. Right? So it gives us the ability to have these flexible SLAs as well. So it's either like a blanket or an individual instance, in this case requester. But going back to the reporting aspect, as long as we're capturing information in the system, right? You may have columns specific to you guys. You can also run an SLA on top of it, just like reports. And then those will show up here on our SLA dashboards. So tickets overdue by week, SLA breaches by priority, by type, category and issue type, by staff. Well, you can see I'm the biggest culprit. Yeah, this gives you a full breakdown of all of those metrics that we store in SLAs. So resolution and response. So response time and resolution time, and both reports reflect that. If you want to know more about SLAs, we can get real deep in it. Probably, we could spend 20 minutes alone on that. So just ping me and we could do a separate demo. One thing I do want to talk about though, that's not on the demo site, but we've been kicking it around recently, and this is just kind of want to talk about configurability around the workflows. So we have, well, no, this is included, I apologize, but we have the ability to merge tickets together as well. These are called custom actions. So what custom actions are, they're manually invoked workflows, right? So workflows are going to be like trigger based. Hey, when the ticket is submitted, when a date column is hit. Custom actions are going to be buttons, either in the form or on the list, like I showed earlier, the self-assign or assign to someone else. Another option here is merging two tickets together. So I can take, okay, like how to clear browser cache, 151 and 152, and I can merge these together. Well, maybe Ryan submitted them twice, and instead of closing both, I'm going to just link them together. Now when one closes, the other closes, right? So it gives us a bit of flexibility there in terms of merging two tickets together. Now, one of the custom actions that we can add on, a configuration, right? Going back to that top level thing of customization configuration. And this is actually pretty cool. Let me get our reports. Let me leave forms open. Get into workflows. So our workflow tool is very much a designer interface, I should say. Can I get the tickets on email tickets? Thank you. Okay. Now, one of our actions, going back to this kind of combining teams and customization, is being able to take a meeting and create a meeting from a list form, right? So imagine you're in the ticket and you hit, one of your button drop down is create Teams meeting. You want to screen share, you want to chat with the end user about that particular ticket. That's the wrong button. What you can do is you can actually send the meeting and associate it to a ticket, right? Just like you would in Teams. Teams meeting, it can go to, the organizer can be me, right? It's equal to me. Could be, the assigned staff, let's say, and the required attendees are the requester, right? And then you can specify times. You can create anything related to a typical Teams meeting that you would normally, but now it gives you the ability to do so from a ticket. So that's a way that we can customize, make the tool a little bit more Teams friendly for technicians as well as end users. Cool. Related items, one of the features that we have here, before I get too far into that, is the ability to send a templated email from a ticket. So if you want to communicate with the end user and use Outlook as opposed to Teams, you're welcome to. Again, it just kind of comes down to however you think will work best for your staff. We do give you the ability to send different mail templates, right? So you can create different canned responses and send those to the user from the ticket. So it can come from your account, it can come from a shared inbox, but it does track all the emails related to the ticket here in related items. So if the end user were to say respond, you would also have a history of that email response here as well. And then it would, to tie everything together, it would show up in your needs attention tab. Now, one of the other things that we have in the ticketing system is this task, subtask related to a ticket. Kind of like a mini project, right? And it really depends. You know, I talked to a lot of different folks in IT, and you know, like there's always certain tickets that have a branching workflow associated to it. I guess onboarding is probably the most common use case, but there are others where you have the parent ticket come in, like a new hire request, but you need to add them to Active Directory. You need to assign them a laptop. You need to divvy out passwords, right? And all of those tickets can either be manually added and assigned to anyone in the system, anyone in your 365 tenant or technicians. Right? You only want them to be assigned to technicians, you can. Or they can be auto-generated, right? Or they can be auto-generated when that ticket type comes in. That's another configuration, right? To auto-create these tasks. So as a part of the workflow, you know, let's say I want to talk about this a little bit. Can I delete this? Thank you. I want to create an item. And I want to create an item in the tickets in the task list, right? In the associated task, I want to create an item. ABC. All right, I'm not doing full column mappings. And then based on the conditions of the workflow, I'm only going to create that item if these certain conditions are met, right? Let's say the category of the request is a new hire request, right? I'm only going to create those tickets in this conditional if these conditions are met. And there's actually another good question in here related to workflows. Can workflows be set up to export ticket data via a webhook? Absolutely. This is another cool feature of Nitro Studio. We do have the ability to invoke a web service. So if you have a webhook into other third-party tool sets, Salesforce, SQL data, I'm trying to think of the ones we've done it for in the past, but yeah, you do have the ability to pull that data out of the SharePoint list and into a third-party tool set. Sorry, that my brain died on me there for a sec. Okay, so approval workflow is a good one. So we'll transition to, I'll talk a little bit about change management and approval workflows in conjunction with each other. Because there's a question that comes in, has just come in about approvals. So approval workflow, such as a ticket is open and the user requests a new monitor, like their manager to get an approval reject message, etc. So we kind of have this baked into change management. It can be a part of the tickets list as well as a customization. You could use change management to do approval requests. So I'll show change, but know that this same workflow can be reapplied to the ticket tool. The ticketing, if you so choose. Okay, so let's use this use case. They want a new monitor, right? And the type of change is hardware replacement, or maybe it's a hardware request, but we'll do hardware replacement. The owner of the change we'll put as me, and the requester will be Krista. Why not? Yeah, Krista needs a new monitor.
Sure do.
Right. So we can go through and add all of our details, right? You know, this is a little bit more change management specific, affected components, costs. The lower part here, you know, testing, training, risk description, etc. Work log. So all this is metadata that can be captured against the change, and then we want to submit for approval. So what's happening here is actually really cool. And I'll try to talk slow. I get excited about this feature, so I don't want to lose anyone. What's happening is right now, we just got the warm and fuzzies that the workflow ran as designed. What it's doing is we've created this utility to have approvers for change type or based on certain attributes captured in the ticket, in the change, or an Active Directory. So in this case, what happened is that it looked at and said, hey, it's a hardware replacement. So this change should go to Eric, right? So level one is always going to go to whoever we've specified as the approver, right, for that particular change. Right? So we've specified Eric as the approver for that change. Now level two, in this case, is me. I'm hard-coded as the level two approver. It's always me. So let's say you want level one, right, to be, maybe you want level one to be their manager, right? You want to pull something in from Active Directory like their manager in this use case, right? So in this instance, it'll find their manager first, create them an approval task, and then you'll say, hey, level two is always going to be Ryan, or it's always going to be head of IT, whomever. Let's say level one is manager, level two is IT. What it's going to do, it's going to find that, and it's going to associate the approval task to the appropriate person. There's Eric, right? Eric got that approval task. Now, as an approver, I'm going to get a notification. I got a notification. Oh no, my workflow is updated. That I have to approve something, and then I can go into my Teams app, and I can approve. Yeah, this one. This is great. And actually, a new laptop for Larry, right? Yeah. Larry needs a new laptop. I'm going to go ahead and approve this, right? So that's the workflow behind it. Essentially, it gives you the ability to very simply plug in names or pull in attributes from a list or from AD if you're using it. It just depends on how your guys' own setup. But that's a really cool way to manage change. And the nice thing here too, let's say, oh, the wrong thing. Let's say, for project management change, there's two people that need to be the level one approver, right? So if there's ever an instance where you need multiple people to approve it for level one, let's say like you have a change advisory board, you're a little bit more sophisticated in your change advisory, like you have a full board and it's a grouped board, right? So you could go in and say, hey, level one needs to go to two people, right? Before it goes to level two. So here you can see the linear process, level one, level two, level three. And then, yeah, you have the notifications in Teams, but also I have an example of what an approval could look like through email. I think this is probably the most commonly used way that people approve these tasks. I like the task aspect of it. But you can also give them approval decisions in the body of an email, right? So they can see the change, in this case, I think it's a purchase, but like see the information and make a decision from here, and then they can enter their comments for their approval decision as well. So email is a really good way to handle these change notifications and then track their response against that approval in the ticketing system. So through the task, through email, we also give them the ability to update these changes through, or these approval tasks through what we call adaptive cards in Teams. It kind of goes back to that concept we were talking about earlier, where it's really going to come down to whatever makes most sense for your users, right? If they're only going to use email, great, we'll set it up as email. If you want them to get both a Teams message and an email, great, all three. I think that's the flexibility and the ability to customize these different tool sets. This is approved. There you go. Okay. And I should have got the warm and fuzzies. Yep, task was approved. Cool. Now, I kind of skipped over this, but one of my favorite things here is the problem management. Let's say an incident becomes a problem. You get 10, 15, 20 tickets related to, I don't know, HubSpot, right? HubSpot outage. Right? And you get everyone spamming tickets for this HubSpot outage. So what you can do is you can create a parent problem, right? A HubSpot issue. And what you can do with that is you can go through and you can go and assign all of those, you can assign tickets to that, as many tickets as you want to that problem, right? So now I'm in the problem utility, and I can pick through my tickets list. And I can say, oh, 187, 192, 195, 189, and 183 are all associated to this problem, right? So now those end users are going to be notified that, hey, we recognize your issue. It's become a problem. We've escalated it to a problem. And then when you go in and you close the problem out, so that should have notified me. Sure did. Back to here, right? That when the problem closes, all the subsequent child tickets will close, right? So you won't have, as an IT staff member, you won't have to go through and close each one of those tickets associated to the problem. They'll auto close by themselves. Oh, it updated in my personal my personal teams. I was like, where did it go? Oh, that's why. Okay, well, that is the ticketing tool in a nutshell. We talked about the Teams aspect, the self-service portal. We went a little bit in-depth in reporting and analytics. We touched on KVs, we touched on SLAs, configurations. Look, I'll spend a few minutes here before I let you guys go, just to kind of touch on this again. We talked a lot about changes or customizations that the system can have, from from the dashboards to the reports, to what's being displayed here, to what reports you're seeing in your landing pages, to what you can capture on the form, to very simple, straightforward workflows like creating items or invoking a webhook, a web service, right? All of that's controlled from Nitro Studio. So anything that you see here from a Nitro perspective comes included with the tool set. And it really is worth, if you go with us, you go with Pro Canyon, it really is worth investing in, I would say the Nitro training above and beyond the help desk training, because this will give you that autonomy to go out and make those changes on your own, to feel comfortable, to update dashboards, configure workflows, right? Change settings in the Copilot. So this really does give you that full configurability and flexibility to make the tool set your own. Did just get a question regarding a feature for surveys. Yep, we do have a survey system. There's a feedback and a rating system for your end users. And it's a simple form that goes out to an end user when their ticket is closed. I think out of the box, it's set up for every 7th ticket, but really it could be every nth ticket. If it's every ticket, it's every 10th ticket. We'll work with you guys to the cadence, whatever your cadence wants to be. But yeah, it does have that satisfaction go out as a part of the ticketing system. Staff by rating, category, level, per question, and then quality and satisfaction. These are all built into the tool set, all included. Actually, that's another good point too, while I'm here. If you're like in certain instances, some folks are like, hey, I would love to have a survey tool. And others are like, I don't want that. At any point in time, you can hide any of these features away. So they're all included in the out-of-the-box tool set, like problem management, or probably not problems. Problems are, I would suggest using straight from the go, but like SLAs or change, or even surveys. Like, hey, I don't want to touch this. We're not ready yet. We're not mature enough, or we want to grow into it. And we can hide it and always turn it on whenever you want, right? I think that's the nice flexibility of the tool, is that it's all there and you can pick and choose what you want to start, or what you want to start with, versus 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years down the road. Any other questions while you guys got me? Anything you can think of? Are there built-in mobile views for the help desk? Yeah, the whole site is mobile responsive. The mobile and Teams works. The SharePoint app works. That's what I use. I use the SharePoint app. I don't know, I'm kind of old school. I've been in SharePoint for 10 years now, which as I said earlier, it makes me feel a little old. But the Teams app, the SharePoint app, let me open the form so I'll show you what the scalability looks like. And we also have our own mobile app as well. So yeah, there's a Nitro app, SharePoint app, Teams app, all mobile responsive. And I will show you what that mobile interface looks like on one of the forms here in a sec. Just show you how it scales down and what that looks like. So there's a desktop version, there's the mobile version. Great question, really great question. Asset management, yeah, we do have an asset management tool. I won't be covering on this webinar. I don't think I won't have the time to make it all the way through it. But if you're interested, I'll reach out to you and we can talk about asset management. Oh, wrong button. But we do have other applications that come with our tool set: help desk, assets, work orders, purchasing. Yeah, if we're interested in assets, I'll message you and we'll go through assets one-on-one. But yeah, we do have assets, and our assets can connect to the ticketing tool as well. So if an end user submits a request and you want to tie an asset to that end user, to the request, you can. There's a related asset here, right? These assets are assigned to me in the asset tracking tool. So if I change to Krista, who shouldn't have any, yeah, none are found, right? So we do have an integration with the asset tracking tool as well. There is a question here. Is there any agent feedback? Okay, we talked about that. Can you show end user account management? I'm not sure about what you mean for end user account management, but if you want, we can schedule a chat and talk about the details there. Be happy to dig into that a little bit more. But yeah, if there's any other questions, just feel free to put them in now before I let you guys go. I'll give you a few minutes. But yeah, I appreciate you guys' time. It's a pleasure. Like I said, I know most of you, so if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Teams. Krista, you're sending out an email with all the information afterwards. Is that correct?
I sure am. You should receive that email tomorrow.
Cool. So the video will be up, and then yeah, like you said, Teams is fine, email's fine, or respond to Chris's message, and we'll be happy to set up some time to chat with everyone. Appreciate everyone's time again. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to everyone soon.